Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Just a couple of days out from the 2025 NFL Draft. We're here with you on Birds 365 today from 8 to 10, as we are every weekday. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. John, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, brother, as we inch closer to the NFL Draft? I'm ready for this draft.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, pre-show, man, I'm ready.
Inch sounds like a good description. Yeah, I'm limping along trying to get to this damn thing. Can we just start it? Let's just start it right now. Roger Goodell.
I'm with you. Start rolling out the picks. Let's do it. But 2 days out. What do we got? Yeah, 2 days out, 2 days and 2.5 days out. This draft will start Thursday night at 8 p.m., which means for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are sitting at 32 as it stands right now, will probably make their selection just short of midnight. So we got a long night ahead of us once that night comes. But it is good stuff. John, in Eagles news, though, we did get a piece of news this week. Cam Jurgens gets the extension yesterday, a 4-year, $68 million deal with nearly $40 million guaranteed. An order of business that we expected to get done. But I do think there were a couple of people out there who, hey, maybe had a little concern on the back. I was one of those people. Not that I didn't think Cam would ever be back in Philly, but, I knew the contract was coming. So what does that mean with the back injury? Obviously, the Eagles would know more about the back, and now that they gave the contract, I feel pretty good about the back because they checked that box off. But your initial reaction to the Cam Jurgens news, locking down another big piece of that offense and that offensive line?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, backs can be tricky. We talked about that when he was undergoing surgery and playing through it. But, once you sign that deal, that's a clear indication that the Eagles medical staff has written and, signed off on it. So, I don't have any issues from that perspective. Very clearly, they're comfortable. And this is one of the players they've been talking about all offseason when they intimate what they're doing. He was the first one because he's first one eligible. And Nakobe Dean is also eligible, but, he has more significant injury questions, so that will pause it for at least a while. Plus the position, all that kind of stuff. He wasn't as considered as high level for an extension as Cam Jurgens. So we talked about this demarcation line. Cam's above it. Dallas Goedert's probably below it. CJ Gardner-Johnson definitely below it. You could make your assumptions on if that should be the case, but it's what the Eagles believe in. They talk about it all the time, ad nauseum. In fact, Cam, I pointed out in one of my stories on SI, I pointed out he's literally the poster child, because Howie literally said it, because there was so much backlash when they drafted him at 51 overall. Everybody wanted Nakobe Dean. I was doing the show with Jody. Jody's a big Nakobe Dean guy, and everybody was gaslighted for months. This is a first-round pick. This is a first-round pick, Nakobe Dean. And all of a sudden, he starts to fall, and he's sitting there for the Philadelphia Eagles, who obviously need linebackers and blah. And people were incensed because Cam Jurgens wasn't going to play. Jason Kelce was still an all-pro center. And they were incensed. And Howie went up there and said, look, we had two players on our board, Cam Jurgens, and they were deciding between Cam Jurgens and Nakobe Dean. And Howie flat out said, if it's even, we're picking the offensive lineman or the defensive lineman. That's how we roll. That's his exact quote. That's how we roll. And they ultimately ended up getting Nakobe Dean anyway at number 83, I believe. So in a lot of ways, Cam is the poster child for Howie pointing out, guys, this is what we do. And at this stage, I don't know how anybody can debate that they do it the right way. The people like sexier positions all the time. It's boring, especially when it's a luxury pick. And you have an all-pro player in place, a future Hall of Famer, and he's not going to play. He didn't play his rookie season. He didn't play until his second season, and he played right guard, and then he moved inside. But how about that? You think about replacing a 6-time All-Pro, a future Hall of Famer, one of the best centers who ever lived. How do you replace that? You make the Pro Bowl, you win a Super Bowl, and you get a 4-year, $68 million extension, which is more than Jason Kelsey ever made, because that's the way the NFL works. It's Cam's turn, number 2 in the NFL behind Creed Humphrey, but well-deserved.
No doubt about it. Big stuff there for Cam Jurgens. I agree with you completely on it, John. But I do wonder, man. I do wonder. The first thing I think about, and I'm happy for Cam. I do think he's well deserved. But boy, that's a lot of money, man, on that offensive line and that offense. We talk about what's coming in the future, and again, we don't have to live in the future right now. Right now, the Eagles aren't trading AJ Brown. They're not moving anything, but another guy paid on the offense, another guy paid on the offensive line with those defensive contracts coming up. Boy, that's a lot of money, John, on the offense. I am very curious to see what the Philadelphia Eagles do, not just now, but in the next 12 to 18 months to manage what's going to be a big turnover in their roster and their cap and where they spend their money. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because the reality is you do got a lot of guys under contract on offense.
Yeah, they do, but those are the veteran guys, and those are the guys who are up. So, like, I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, I got a lot of people like, Jalen Carter's next. Well, he is next, but he's not next until next season. After next season, he's not eligible for an extension. I think a lot of people don't understand that. This was the first time Cam Jurgens was eligible for an extension after his 3rd season. Jalen Carter's got to get to the end of his 3rd season. Then he's eligible. Nolan Smith, he's eligible after next season. And then you look a couple years down the road with Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, players like that. It's going to even out if those players continue at their trajectory, which I think we're pretty sure Jalen Carter's going to. And if the other players continue at their trajectories, they're going to get paid big time money. And then you're going to see some attrition on the offensive side, whether it comes from salary cap casualties, whether it comes from trades, whether it becomes more realistic to say, can we really pay AJ Brown, Devontae Smith? You can now, because you don't have to pay anybody on defense for the most part. It started a little bit with Zach Bond as a veteran player, but yeah, it's going to even out. It's coming. But, Howie's very savvy. He doesn't have to worry about it right now.
Right.
So he's building up the side of the ball that he has to build up, that he has to pay. And they're very young on defense.
Yep.
And they're very good. And they're taking advantage of it. That's what they should be doing.
The other thing that I think that's out there, maybe you can bring some more clarity to this, but, Jalen Carter's going to get paid next summer. I think a lot of people immediately think, okay, he's going to have $40 million next year. When you pay a guy, specifically in the case of Jalen Carter, or the most recent one would be Devontae Smith, a high draft pick, then you pick him up, you extend, you add in the 5th-year option, which is what I think they're going to do with Jalen Carter. Typically, that cap hit's not crazy in those first year or two. So if you pay Jalen Carter next year, if you pay Nolan Smith next year, is there a chance that they actually lessen their cap hit in that particular year? And then you can kind of maybe buy one more year until you need to make maybe a big sweeping decision. Is that fair to say, or how do you see that part of it?
Yeah, generally, even Cam, who's not, if you'll notice he's now under contract through 2029, which means they rolled in the final year of his rookie contract and then gave him a 4-year extension. So yeah, typically that's what they do, is to help out with the salary cap. Now they get a crap load of money up front, but that doesn't, I think a lot of people don't understand that's why and then they'll have voidable years on the back end to help with the cap. And that's how they sort of mitigate that. The first couple of years of Jalen Hurts' contract were ridiculously low from a salary cap standpoint. When people heard, highest paid player in the history of football, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what's that going to do to the cap? Not much until a couple of years. Now it does. But Yeah, that's generally how they do it. And that's, again, go back to Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey, like a lot of owners, wouldn't let the Eagles have the more dead money than anybody else, um, because of all those voidable years. And a lot of owners would cut that off. I would say the vast majority would. The Eagles, so Jeffrey deserves, from a fan base perspective, he deserves a tip of the cap because he's not worried about paying people. He's already paid. That money's already gone. I think a lot of people don't understand. You already paid the money. It's just going to hurt your cap situation down the road. But the Eagles are playing this game where they know the cap's going up every year. And unless there's another pandemic, it ain't going down. So they're factoring that in. It's keep going up and up and up. And all these new deals and these TV deals and the escalating TV rights, they understand where the cap is going. So
Yeah, they're going to have another $50 million to spend within 2 years on the cap.
exactly. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are slaves of the moment. What are they going to do? What are they going to? It's going up right there. It's like, nobody gets 20% raises, but
Right.
if you had that in your back pocket, you could, if you felt like financially planning, you could plan for that. And the Eagles kind of plan for understanding what's coming better than most, to say the least.
Yep, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. John, a couple days out here from the NFL draft. I think everybody's jacked up. I've been running through the PFF simulator, doing some mock drafts, starting to look. And that's not a perfect indication or even anything close, but there's two names that keep sitting down there at 32, and James Pearce is one of them. Now, I don't know if James is going to be there, but what do you think of a player like James Pearce, John, in the first round? Does he excite you? Do you think he's the right fit for the Eagles? He's a guy that kind of excelled in college. Was just a lot better than the dudes. He was running around everybody. I don't know how well his game will translate to the NFL, but what do you think of a guy like James Pearce in round one? I am maybe foreshadowing my Eagles only mock that will be coming out soon.
I haven't. I don't love him because he's undersized. But I mean, that's a lot of what the Eagles do these days. And I keep wondering when that comes back to bite them a little bit. I've talked about Scorton for that reason. Get a little bit of size on the defense. When you start talking about Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt and Azeez Ojulari, and then you're adding in another undersized guy, it's like at some point somebody's going to wake up and say, "Hey, why don't we run the edge on this team?" At some, maybe it doesn't happen, and maybe it looks great like it did last year. But I think at some point somebody's going to wake up and realize what's going on. I don't like it. Now, I also think he's not going to be there. I find it very hard to believe somebody that productive in college. So most of it is I don't think he's going to be there. Now, there's so many good edge rushers in this draft. It becomes what's your favorite flavor. Everybody's not looking for an edge rusher. They maybe should be, but so that's where you get these big ranges that Daniel Jeremiah was talking about. So I could see Pearce going 15 or whatever and going 32. He's one of those guys. Azaraku's the same thing. Mike Green, the same thing. Shamar Stewart, the same thing. Now, Stewart, to me, is at least has the crazy athleticism, the crazy traits that if you can, and certainly, Jeremiah Washburn's one of the guys that the Eagles believe in that can develop players. So I'm starting to get a lot of, as we get late in the process, a lot of Walter Nolans, a lot of Shamar Stewarts.
I have a feeling Walter Nolan's going top 20.
Oh, I agree. I don't think he's going to be there, but I'm talking about the players the Eagles like.
Right.
And even the kid from UCLA. Like, I'm getting a lot of Oladipo.
Really,
I'm like,
I've seen him falling a little bit on. I mean, just on mock. Again, mocks are mocks. That's what they are. They're fake. But
yeah,
I have seen him fall. I don't know where he'll go, but
yeah, I think he's going to go much higher than people expect.
you think
Because
like a
I'm with you.
round two, or you think like a sneaking into round one?
I'm talking potentially sneaking in the round one,
Okay.
at worst early round two. And I'm with you, like, personally, but I would not have the guts to take a player like that. You got to have guts to take a player. And the Eagles have guts, number one, and number two, they also have some, capital in the bank to use, like, hey, you know, we're pretty good at this. Shut up. That type of thing. I'm just saying. I've been hearing that name a lot over the past couple of days. And I think you already have that player in Jalen Hunt, but I've been hearing it a lot, and that more so the theme. I always talk about themes. They're looking for high upside players. Nolan, huge upside. Stewart, huge upside. Oladeo, huge upside. And that's why I'm souring on Scourton for the Eagles, because he's more safe. I guess I'm safer than they are. But I keep that. I think they're swinging for the fences and saying, "Well, we're picking at 32. Who cares? Let's swing for the fences." That's my feeling as we get closer.
Let's see what they end up doing here. We're going to have Jeff Kerr join us today here on Birds 365. Again, what are we, 2 days and 12 hours? So we're, 60 hours out from the NFL draft here. So it's coming up very quickly. We gave you guys the rundown on all of the top 30 visits. John said the Walter Nolan talk is heightening. I don't know where you'd have to go to get Walter, John. Do you have to go top 20? Is Minnesota at 24 the sweet spot? I mean, the more I do this, the more I look at the draft in the top round. Like, I see why you're saying, oh, Tyler Warren's going top 10. There's not that many players up there.
No, there is.
Like, he's going to go. Jetty might go 4. He
Yeah,
could go
well,
to the Patriots. I wouldn't do that if I were the Patriots, but I could see them doing it.
There's a lot of people talking about Genty. I think they're trying to take advantage of Ryan Poles.
Yeah.
I really do.
You mean to get him to trade up?
Yeah.
I could see that.
The Bears badly want Genty, and the Raiders are trying to get him to come up, and even Jacksonville now. And you bring up New England. I haven't heard as much with New England, but New England's in kind of a no man's land. Even now, I mean, there's talk that Cleveland will ship to Carter. So now we're in the full-blown silly season, and the Giants supposedly don't like Hunter as much. Giants probably get screwed again. But sometimes I feel bad for the Giants. I know Eagles fans don't, but I think it would be hilarious to see what happens if the Cleveland does go Abdul Carter, because I don't think they want Travis Hunter. And I don't think they would.
If I were Cleveland, I would take Abdul Carter, to be blunt. I mean, I wouldn't.
Well, I would take Abdul Carter number
off.
1. I would take him number 1 over Cam Ward.
Yeah.
I'd take it. He's the best player in the draft. For me, there's some injury issues. I get that part of it, but there's another guy. I forget who did. I think Albert Breer did his annual quarterbacks. Man, this quarterback class is not liked in the league. It is not liked. Either that or everybody's talking to the same guy. But he I believe had Ward number 7 in last year's class. The guy Breer was talking to. 7. Which I think my guy had him 6th, not quite 7th. And the same thing you hear, Sanders. I mean, there's a chance Pittsburgh takes him. New Orleans isn't taking him. The Giants aren't taking him. If Pittsburgh doesn't take him, there's a good chance he's going in the second round. Or somebody's coming up late with the Eagles or somebody to get him late in the round.
Yeah, and I got a feeling that people aren't going to want to move into the back of the first round. I got a feeling they're going to want to move to the top of the second round to draft these quarterbacks if they do fall. The Milrose, I can't believe you think Dart's going not top 10 potentially. What happened? What news came out about Jackson Dart?
Well, no,
what have you been told that this guy is going top 10?
Well, remember when you hear this guy's moving up the board, I love Bill Pauline because, Bill just blows it all up. He's like, that's bullshit. Nobody's moving up. Nobody's moving down. We're getting information.
Right.
It's not like the personnel people are waking. Oh, no, it's been that way the whole time. People are starting to figure out that NFL people like Jackson Dart a little bit better than they do. And Tyler Shuck is in that same category. I think New Orleans is begging off. I don't think he's going to go top 10. But if New Orleans takes a quarterback, it's going to be Dart. It's not going to be Sanders. I don't think they're taking a quarterback. Now, they might draft up, as you said. They might move up in the end of the first round. They might take him in the second round. I'm not saying they're not taking a quarterback. They're just not taking quarterback in the top 10 is my feeling now. But if they do, it would be Dart. And then Pittsburgh at 21, they need a quarterback. They badly need a quarterback. I think they're willing to take a quarterback. I think Dart is number one. Could be wrong. This is just what I'm hearing from people out there. Milroe, number 2. Sanders, number 3. In the Steelers.
Who was that? Who did you say that was for?
Steelers.
The Steelers?
I think they would like Dart, then Milroe, then Sanders. And maybe even Shuck before Sanders. And then you start talking about, I think Cleveland would take him with their second pick. So I think his floor is now whatever Cleveland is, 34, I guess.
Yeah. 33 actually. Yeah, they're
33. Yeah, so I think they take him there. I think that's his floor, but there's a good chance he gets there. At least 50-50. But it's favorite flavor. Somebody, if Pittsburgh is floating shit out there to get people off and say, well, we can get Sanders at 33, Cleveland. Don't worry about it. There's all that subterfuge as well.
What do you think the chances of Jalen Milroe going in the first round are? I can't see.
Well, again, I talked about the Eagles with defensive players that they're looking at upside. He's got the biggest upside in this draft by far.
I'm wondering if Jalen Hurts convinced Kellen Moore to go with the dual threat approach. Jalen Milroe, John, when I read the scouting reports on Jalen Milroe, you could literally replace his name with Jalen Hurts, and that's what it sounds like coming out of college. That's what it sounds like to me.
Boy,
great athlete, struggles with some accuracy, not a polished passer yet, but that's what I see.
Well, I don't see it at all from the standpoint of this guy's got like Lamar Jackson athleticism.
Right, so it's better than Hurts' athletic.
Yeah. But Hurts was way above Milroe as a passer coming out, just from his year at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, was really throwing the football all over the place. So he improved a lot from Alabama to Oklahoma. Like he's way ahead of Jalen Milroe. That's the part. Jalen Milroe is so raw. So you have to have extreme confidence in your ecosystem. First of all, better damn well be an offensive head coach. And you better have people that can teach the position. Because he's more like Anthony Richardson, I would say, than Jalen Hurts. Just completely raw from a passing standpoint, but he's got a massive arm. and his athleticism is just off the freaking charts. So if you can figure it out and you can teach him and you can develop him, he's got way more upside than Cam Ward or anybody else in this draft. So that's what you're sort of weighing with. But like what I talked to the Eagles and like Oladejo. Now, that's what you're talking about from a defensive perspective. Like, he's probably got way more upside than the best. There's a lot of good edge rushers. It's not the same as quarterback, but he's got tremendous upside. But he's so raw. That's what you're sort of betting on if you want Jalen Milroe, that you can develop him, because he's not ready to play at all. But, I mean, he is. And when I say by far the most physically gifted quarterback in this draft class, I mean by leaps and bounds. He's got the biggest arm. He's the best athlete from just a pure physical traits. By far, number one.
If he's there at 64, will the Eagles consider it, John?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Well, they did it once, but no. I mean,
It worked out, man. It worked out well.
I think it did work out well, but I think they're savvy enough to have learned from it. They weren't, again, that was not the plan. So
no, I know.
everybody
throwing it out there. Yeah.
So, at that point, they wanted a more cost-effective backup, similar to what they're doing this year, for a longer period of time. So they didn't have to pay $5 million a year for a backup quarterback. And, they were full on board with Carson Wentz. And, in hindsight, you can rip Carson Wentz. That's fair. But that was not the Eagles' plan. And it ruined him. And you could say he's not mentally strong enough, and you can make all those arguments, but it did. At the end of the day, it ruined him. And that was not what the Eagles wanted. But that's what happened. And they were able, and that's what the Eagles do well. I always talk about contingencies. And then they shifted gears. A lot of people forget when Nick Sirianni was interviewing for this job, the whole interview was about, how are you going to fix Carson?
Yeah, his first couple press conferences were talking about, what the plan was with Carson.
Yeah. Yeah, people there's a lot of revisionist history, man. I mean, after Jalen's first season was they were looking around. They were looking for a quarterback. They were not sold. And he did a pretty good job as a first-year starter, making the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it ended poorly in Tampa. But overall, when you say first-year starter, it's pretty solid season. And they were like, nah, but what they did say at that point, what he did, it was like, all right, we're going to swing for the fences with two names that people laugh about now, but they believed in very, very strongly at that point. And if we didn't get that, then we were going to do everything we can to develop Jalen Hurts, which is what happened and worked out.
It certainly did work out. We're going to see how this draft falls here. I just talked to Jeff Kerr. He's having a little computer issues, but he'll be with us hopefully in a couple of minutes here. So we'll talk to Jeff Kerr. In hour number 2 today, we are going to do a fun exercise. I'm going to make Johnny Mac do it. He'll enjoy it though. It'll be good. We're going to do a simulated draft, John. Now, I'm not doing any trades. There's no trade. You know what? It's one of my pet peeves, John. It's one thing to do a mock draft. It's another thing to do a mock draft and speculate trades. I'm like, what you're now gonna guess on what team's gonna send what to go where. So I don't do any of that. I like to just pick where the team is, and we're gonna do that. So we don't know how the board will fall when we do the simulator. PFF kind of fills them all in depending on what things you choose, and we'll do and see who John would take where depending on who falls. So that'll be interesting to do. We'll do that later on in hour number 2. let's get to a couple super chats right now. Rashid, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Rashid says, good morning, guys. Even though Jalen Carter is eligible after his 3rd year, do you think the Eagles will extend him then or after the 4th year? Reed B is next. Or Reed B next?
With the timing's a little different on Reed because he was undrafted. But with Jalen, yes, they're going to extend him after next year, as early as possible.
Yeah, that price is just going to get too big too quick. They got to get that thing
now. Will Jalen again? Two-way street. We just went through this with Milton Williams. The Eagles wanted to extend Milton Williams. He was like, no. They're probably, and I don't know what the numbers are, but probably 8 million, 10 million. And he knew, and he's getting good advice. And he said, look, Fletcher retired. You're going to get more of an opportunity to play. People are going to see what kind of player you are. You got a chance to make a lot of money. And he made a lot of money.
Well, to be fair, not everybody that bets on themselves wins because Milton performed at a very high level. Yeah,
of course not. You could lose. You could play poorly. It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's
now in the case of Jalen Carter, it's different because they're not going to lowball Jalen Carter. So, whenever he signs, he's going to be the highest paid defensive tackle in the history of football. However, if he wants to maximize it, and I don't know why you would, but I just got to throw it out there because in his case, it's better to have the security and get the $40 million deal, even though if he waited another year, it'd probably be 45. Like at that point, who cares? You got the security, but I have to throw it out there because it's a possibility.
No doubt about it. Interesting draft here coming up for the NFL. I'm very curious to see what the NFC East does as well, John. The Giants are sitting at 3, and then I think their round 2 pick, I think, is like 33 or 34. So we will see what happens there with the Giants, the Cowboys sitting at 12, and then the Commanders at 29. It's going to be very interesting to see what the NFC East looks like after this NFL draft, but I do think everyone else has a better chance to improve their team than the Eagles do, just because of where we're sitting in this draft. I mean, there's a chance, John, that all of the players that we talk about in the round 1 are gone by the time we get to 32 if the Eagles don't move up. There is a chance.
I don't think there is because I think at this point we've talked about 67. I joke. That's what DJ put. Oh, this guy's a first-round pick. This guy's everybody thinks everybody's. So if you add them up, now, I think we're way over 30. We're always way over 32.
Yeah, we are. No, we are. But like I did one last night, and it's like all the guys who are left. And I'm not saying these are bad players, but Trey Amos was left.
First round pick.
But would you take him at 32? I know he's a first round pick.
No.
Would you take him?
I'm joking.
Connerly, maybe they would take him. Benjamin Morrison was there. I mean, these are good players. Are they Eagles players? The only edge left when I did that was Landon Jackson. I'm like, what the? The Eagles are going to want a better edge now. I like Landon Jackson, but I don't think they like him as their top pick in the NFL draft.
No.
I think this is going to be very interesting to see how it.
Edge, and that's why we talk about edge because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going down the list. 7 potential first round picks. Are all 7 going to go? Maybe. They are probably deserving of it. I think Scorton will ultimately be the one to fall out. But I think the other 6 are going to go. I mean, they're probably going to go. And, depending on what you believe of the kid from Georgia, he might be an edge rusher, but most people list him as a linebacker. So he would be the 7th, Jalen Walker. This is a good draft for edge rushers. And the Eagles need an edge rusher. So in theory, they have a better chance at 32 than most years to get a player at a position they want a player at.
Right.
So I think from that standpoint, it's actually good for the Eagles.
You think it's a multiple edge rusher kind of draft? Do you think they'll take?
Yeah, they might carpet bomb it.
Yeah, I could see it too. I could see it. I could actually see them doing what they did last year in secondary and just go back to back, 1-2 if the board falls the right way. Good stuff there. One more super chat, then we'll get to the man, Jeff Kerr. Jim Rashid checks in again. Thank you, Rashid, for your 2 super chats this morning. He says Milroe and Hurts are not the same, Z. Regard of being benched, Hurts took his team to 2 national championships at one program and was Heisman runner-up at another. I'm not saying they're the same, Rashid. I'm just saying that their scouting reports are similar. And with Milroe's athleticism, I think there's an offensive coach out there who's oohing and on. I mean, look at Jaden Daniels. Look at Jalen Hurts. Look at Josh Allen. Look at the way the dual-threat quarterback has taken over the NFL. And that's, as John pointed out, he's got Lamar Jackson-level athleticism. So we'll see what happens. Rashid, appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man. I do agree, though. Hurts is definitely has more accolades than Milroe. Let's go to our main man, Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, joining us now with 2 days out from the NFL draft. Joining us at Jeff Kerr CBS. Jeff, welcome to the show, man. On a Tuesday edition, we're used to talking to you on a Monday. How you doing today, brother?
48 hours, boys. I can't wait till this thing starts.
Oh, man. Let's get it over with. Let's start it right now, Jeff Kerr. Start
you know
it right
what?
now.
We could have started this 2 months ago, and I would have been more than okay with it.
Yeah, boy. And now we're at the point where it's just all the silly season, all the crazy talk, all the trades, all this nonsense. Is there anything worse in the world? I guess there's worse things in the world. There's
Yes,
war.
there is. Whatever you're about to say, yes.
Yeah, there's war. There's sickness. But I gotta believe mock draft trades are top 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I won't do them. I always say I'm going to do no trades mock draft. And,
That's me, yep.
and people are like, well, you're going to get it wrong in mock draft database. I'm like, do you think I care if I'm right or wrong?
You're going to get it wrong. You're going to get it wrong